Okay, it is now 10 o'clock, and I do want to respect everyone's time that is joining with us today. So again, as we have more families join in, we will add them as we go. And just as a reminder, this is for the iPad. This is for Teams and iPad training. If you have if you are using a different device, if you are on a laptop, on a Chromebook, we hopefully will be able to address some of those things later. But for the purpose of this morning, this is all going to be iPad related because Teams looks very different when you are on an iPad versus a Chromebook or a desktop. So just keep that in mind. We are having some other families joining us now, so we're gonna give them a chance to get connected, and then we'll get started. I will be shifting over to broadcasting from my iPad in just a few moments. And I'm gonna walk everyone through several steps. I'll be addressing some basic things about the iPad itself. I will be addressing things about Microsoft Teams, some common problems that I am noticing, because whenever you call the school, the one that answers is most often me. And so if you've ever called the school to talk to somebody that you needed help, it was probably me that you spoke to. So I have kind of taken note of of most of the problems that students and parents are experiencing, and we're going to address those, try and get them all addressed today. If while I'm presenting, I do have multiple screens up, so I can still see the chat. If you have questions, you're welcome to type them in the chat, but I will open the floor. If you would prefer to ask verbally, I'll open the floor up for that towards the end, and I am more than happy to go back and readdress something. So if you have any problems or you need further clarification on things, feel free to say something in the chat, or at the end we'll have an open, that way we can kind of communicate back and forth. Because I know for me it's more helpful for me if someone's actually answering my questions. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to be transferring over to the iPad in just a moment. So you should be seeing my iPad screen in just a few moments. For those of you just joining, I am going to be moving over into the iPad screen because this again is the training for the iPad. And I'm also going to we have our network technician, Ms. Lee, also in the Zoom meeting with us. And I'm going to, actually, I should have done this before I switched over. I'm going to make her a co-host in this meeting so she can continue to add people as they join the meeting. So give me just one more moment. I should have done that before I switched over and I didn't think about it. So one moment, please. Okay, Ms. Lee, so I have made you a co-host. So if you could just keep an eye on if we have any more families coming in through you'll see their name pop up in the participants list. If you open the participants list, you'll see them opening into the lobby, and then you just have to admit them into the meeting. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I am on a student iPad today. So that way, and I have been added to several classes as a student. So that way, most of what I'm looking at should be the same thing that your students are looking at whenever they're on their iPad. So just a couple of general things about the iPad. You might also see me kind of go into this screen right here a couple times. The reason for this is I'm activating the pointer, so that way you guys can follow along and see where I'm clicking. It unfortunately doesn't stay on the screen very long, so if it disappears, you might see me tap back into that small screen, which would allow me to pull the pointer up again. See, it already disappeared off the screen because I haven't touched the screen in a few moments. Okay, so first off, about your student iPad. See, mine, it looks like a 6th grade iPad. And I did want to make a point to say that the chargers for the iPads, it is very important that our students are charging their iPads overnight. A very common problem that I'm hearing is that the iPads won't charge. And I can tell you that this is because the adapters that are used to charge these iPads, the amount of power that they can charge into the iPad versus the amount of power that it takes to run all of their classes all day, because the video classes take a lot of power to maintain. So if a student wakes up and logs in for class at 8:30 or 8:15 in the morning and they're already at 15%, even if they plug their iPad in, it's still going to go down. It's not going to be able to provide enough voltage to charge that iPad while they are doing their video conferencing. If they are not in synchronous class and they're just working on, say, a Word document or in class notebook, it probably could maintain the charge. But if they are trying to charge their iPad while they are in class, active class, it's not going to be enough power to charge it. We have had a few iPads that did have genuine battery problems that I was able to work with and try multiple avenues of charging, and it would not charge. So that has happened, but the more common situation is that you're just realistically not going to be able to charge while you're actively in class. So just keep that in mind and keep reminding your students that they need to be charging their iPads. They need to be charging their iPads overnight. So if your student is in class and your student's teacher needs them to download anything, they might ask your student to go into the manager. So down here in the bottom left, it looks like a Wi-Fi, sideways Wi-Fi. It's supposed to be on this hotbar down here. Sometimes it's not. So if it's not, then it's going to be up here somewhere. Or sometimes you have to swipe down from the bottom or from the top. Actually, this one I think is the side. It's not letting me do a swipe now that I have the pointer on. But sometimes you do have to search for that app, but usually on most of the iPads I've seen is down here on the bottom. And when you go into the manager, it does take some time to load. It's going to bring up this screen. So this screen, it's asking for credentials. You don't need them. At the bottom of the screen, you're going to see on the bottom right-hand side, it's going to say self-service right here. So this is going to be where they go to download any apps, because all of the apps that are available on the iPad are preloaded on this app manager. So if it's not on here, the students do not have access to it. They can't just go and download anything. They can't go download Roblox or anything like that. Anything that is on here, this is for the whole district. So, sometimes we can request that they get new apps added, but realistically, if it's not, you know, and I can ask them downtown. There are a couple that I'm actually waiting to hear back from them to download, but this is going to be what they're looking at downloading. They can search for things through here. Like one that I had students recently download was the Open eBooks app. So all of your students should have downloaded that at some point in class, or if they haven't yet, they're going to. So this is where we download all the apps, is through this app manager. A lot of people got overwhelmed because it kept asking for the authorization code, which of course is not, which to me, it looks like you need it, but if you just go to the self-service portion, then you don't need it at all. We'll go back to the main screen. So of course, you know that most of the classwork is taking place in Microsoft Teams. You have two ways of accessing it. You can do it through the app, which is preloaded on the iPads. It's usually down on the hotbar as well. Or you can access it through the browser. The Safari browser is the one that the iPads come preloaded with. The Safari browser, that's your internet browser on the iPads, is Safari. That's a specific one to Apple products. You can on other ones, sometimes you can download Google Chrome, but for these ones, you use Safari. So then I'm going to go ahead and go into Microsoft Teams. So whenever you come into Microsoft Teams, it sometimes preloads you into the calendar. Anytime I go into it, it brings you into the activity page. You'll see me reference the tabs a lot. The tabs are down here on the bottom. I have a few more tabs than your students will. The students will say activity, they'll have teams, assignments, and calendar will be the ones that they have access to. So I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to go in and see if I can add, I think we have a couple people still waiting in the, I'm going to stop broadcasting for just a moment. Let's make sure we get everybody added in. So I can see a whole bunch were joining. Did we get everybody in, Ms. Lee? Okay. Okay, I just saw some notifications. I think maybe they were being disconnected and re-added. That's why I kept getting the same notification again. Okay. Sorry for that. We'll go back into Teams. Okay, so back into Teams. So I say that the activity is, I say this is like your Facebook notifications. So every time a teacher uploads an assignment, every time they have a post made in there, you're going to see it on this feed. You've got on the left-hand side, you've got all of the notifications. If you tap on any one particular notification, it'll bring it up on the right-hand side so you can look at it more closely. Myself, my personal preference is this tends to be a little bit overwhelming for me because I'm in a lot of teams because I help out teachers. But your student won't have as many notifications probably, depending on how many assignments and stuff that the teacher is doing. But like I said, this just gets a little overwhelming for me because there's just a lot of notifications to take in. So the next part that your students are definitely going to want to know about is, again, on the bottom. We're going to go look at the calendar on the bottom tab. This is where most of your students know to go to whenever they join class, because if you tap on any particular class, it shows you the information for it, the times, you can see the time when it is, you can join, they're all there. But sometimes I have students calling me and I have parents calling me saying, I don't have my classes are missing. Usually they're looking at the calendar and the classes are not on the calendar. This does happen sometimes if the student did not directly RSVP to the class, or if the teacher, for whatever reason, had to change a time or change some of the settings. So there is another way to get into class, which is important to know. is you can do this by going directly to the team page. Each individual class has its own team page, and these are located at the bottom of the screen on the tabs in the team tab. So again, I am in way more teams than what your students are. They should just be in usually one per class. They've got one for their related arts. I'm going to go down to, I've joined one specifically for this. I joined one of the class periods for Ms. Matheson. She's one of our 8th grade science teachers, and I was joined as a student in this particular class. So whenever you click on a student's team, you click on the word general underneath the team name. You can see on the right-hand side. You will notice that there is a small little blue icon. What this means is that there is an active class in progress. There is a recording in progress. So for example, Ms. Matheson's science class did start at 9:45. So I'm not going to join. I'm not going to join the meeting, but your students do have access to join their class meetings on this screen as well as their calendar. And if they are having a class that does not show up on their calendar, they can also add it from this page too, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The team page, I say, is very similar to a Facebook page. I use that word because many people are pretty familiar with Facebook, and so I think sometimes that's easier for me to connect it to something, because on the right-hand side, you'll see we've got assignments being posted. We do have the meetings being posted. There are posts. The teacher might make posts. They can make announcements. That's why I say it's kind of like a Facebook page, because everything is put here. So you'll note at the very bottom, we've got that science class. So if we go to, I'm going to bring it I hate that it disappears so frequently, but if we're looking at this shows it occurs every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9:45. If we tap on the ellipses, these 3 little dots right here, and we go to view meeting details, I have the option right here to add this meeting to my calendar. This will make sure that and it says it's adding to calendar. This will make sure that from now on, Ms. Matheson's 3rd period science class appears on my calendar. That way I can access it more easily from the calendar tab, and I'm not having to go through the actual teams section, the team page, to get to it. I have seen that sometimes you have to add it. I'll add it. It'll say that it's added. I go back to the calendar. You do have to refresh. So on the left-hand side, again, I apologize that I have to keep bringing that up. If you press and hold, no, it won't let me do it. I've got that up. If you press and hold, of course, now it's not going to let me do it because I do have the pointer up. It's an assistive touch technology. You do have to sometimes refresh, because looking at it right here, it's not here yet. Because the calendar hasn't refreshed. So on the left-hand side, if you just take your finger and you just press and hold and then scroll down, because I have a lot of classes, I have to scroll down a lot. At the very top, you'll notice that circle is filling up, and we just keep going till that makes it refresh. So now, if you see right here, Ms. Matheson's science class has shown up here. So I've updated my calendar. It is a recurring event. So now it should be on my calendar from now on until I remove it or the teacher removes the meeting. So that's one way so if your students' classes are not showing up on their calendar, but you know that they are in the teams, you can go into the team page and you can manually add those classes back to the calendar. So that way they will show up that way. If we go back I went back to the team page. I just want to show you a couple other things. Most of your teachers, at the very top up here, you'll see that we've got posts, which is like Facebook posts, everything that gets posted. We've got files, and we've got a 3rd tab that's called more. So teachers will often upload important documents to the team files. So, and this is kind of where they stash all, like Ms. Matheson, I use her as an example because she posts a lot in her file. She posts a lot in her classroom notebook, which we're going to be moving into the notebook next. So there, she does have a lot of information here. So whenever you go into your students' team, you can look under the files and see what your teachers have put in there. So we're going to click on more. This is how they get to the notebook from the iPad 1 option anyways. We'll look at a couple. So actually, I do want to talk about one more tab before we move into class notebook, because that one, there's a lot to unwrap in class notebook. At the very bottom of the screen, one more time, you'll see the assignments tab. It does take some time to load because it's loading all of the classes. As you can see, again, I'm in way more. You can go to individual classes and you can, see if I can find Ms. Matheson. You can tap on the team that you want to go to and you hit next. And this brings you to all of the assignments. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been keeping up on my homework assignments for Ms. Matheson, so you'll see that I have a whole bunch that are past due because I haven't done them. So there are two sections, and one important thing that I think a lot of students miss is while there is the assigned section up here, this is everything that is currently active in the class. It's currently due, it's recently been past due, or it will be due soon. Look at that. There also is a second section for completed work. So when a particular assignment has gone over, way overdue, at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see there's a tab for completed, which I haven't done anything because she just added me to this class this morning. So you might have, when your student turns an assignment in, if we look at this very first one, you have the option to look at it. You have the instructions, you've got the work, that she's included a classroom notebook file that the students would need to complete it in. And then depending on what kind of what the assignment is and what the teacher's expectations are, they might have to add work to it, which you just hit the add work. And then you have the option to upload from OneDrive, or you can upload as well from the iPad directly. I suggest students save things to the OneDrive, which it automatically defaults to that setting when you save things. I suggest that because if the student has to move between devices, if they're on their iPad, or then they're on a cell phone, then they're on a laptop, for whatever reason, if they're moving between devices, if they save things to the OneDrive, then that makes sure that they have access to those files from another device. But you do, of course, have the option at the bottom of the screen where it says upload from device. If, like, some of the teachers are having them take screenshots of their work, they would be able to upload from the photo library on the actual iPad device and then have access to it that way. So I'm not going to upload, I don't have anything to upload right now, but I do want to show at the very top right where it says turn in late. You can hit that turn in button, or your student can, at any point in time. That doesn't necessarily, because I can hit that button, it doesn't mean I've done anything in OneNote. It doesn't mean that I have turned anything or attached any assignments. I can still hit that turn in late button, and then Ms. Matheson will actually get a notification from me showing that I have turned it in, which of course I haven't attached anything. Whenever you turn in assignments, they will eventually update down into the completed section. You'll see that that activity that I turned in is now at the bottom under completed. So in the event that a teacher returns work, I can still go back and look at it. The teacher might provide feedback. The teacher might ask for the students to do a little bit more on it. I've seen that happen. So they'll have the option, they can, in the top it says undo turn in. You can take it back and you can work on it and you can turn it in again. You just have to access it through the completed, because you did complete it that first time, but If a student has to work on it again, add something, attach another file, they can access that assignment. It doesn't disappear forever. It stays under the completed section. So as far as assignments go, that's the easiest way to access those is through the assignments tab. And just a quick kind of a tip that I didn't learn until way later is if you tap on the top, if you tap on where it says Matheson Science Period at the top, it'll take you back to the screen to select another class. I didn't realize that at the beginning, and I was kind of going the long way around to go back into assignments, but you can move between classes that way. If you just tap on the teacher's class at the top, it lets you select, you can select a new class to move into and then go into those assignments. So we're going to shift into class notebook now. I know that this is one that we are pretty commonly, the students are asking questions about and parents are asking questions about. So we're definitely going to get into class notebook. I am going to bring it up through Ms. Matheson's class again. So you're looking at it, so if your student was in Ms. Matheson's class, this is going to be how it looks for the most part, because I made sure that I was in this particular class as a student. The whole of class notebook is much like a binder. And so all of the classes are in there as different sections, and then, or as different classes. And then within each class, you've got different sections, and within each section, you've got different pages. It's kind of a hierarchy of things. So for example, right now I'm in Ms. Matheson's notebook because that's the team that I was in that I selected to go into the notebook. So as your student is doing assignments and moving between notebooks, usually it is synced up enough that it will recognize, okay, you've come to me through your ELA class, so it'll pull up the ELA notebook. If it does not automatically bring up the appropriate notebook for that class, you can, on the left-hand side, you can go to more notebooks, and it gives you the option, if it does not show up on the screen already, it gives you the option to move between other notebooks that your student is assigned, so you can see them there. I've had that happen sometimes for just whatever reason. It did not automatically pull up the notebook, but you can find all of your students' notebooks through that section, the more notebooks. Looking at the notebook though, in the middle section, so we're in Ms. Matheson's notebook. So on the left-hand side, it says Change Makers. That's the name of that particular team. So it's Change Makers period 3 notebook. And then in the middle, we have the different sections that Ms. Matheson has assigned. So we have the schedule, we have a safety lab manual, which if you tap on any particular one, it's going to bring you into if there is only one page, it'll pull you in there automatically. If you have more than one page, then you have options to choose from. We've got the collaboration space. We have the content library, which hers is quite full. And then underneath the student's name, which in this case is me, you have the individual assignments. So the thing that I really like about Class Notebook is it has some different levels that you can kind of navigate depending on the purpose of what the teacher's wanting to do. So the collaboration space, if I go into that, that is a space where all of the students can type, all of the students can interact with. So teachers can use that. It is exactly what it says. It's a space for collaboration. Students can engage with that. Another common thing that I see is students saying they can't navigate between is this little tiny little button right here, this little arrow. That's how you go back and move between your different sections and pages. It's very small and it's not marked, so that can be kind of confusing sometimes. So the content library is the next place. So if your teacher is posting class handouts, if they're posting PowerPoints, a lot of times they're going to put them here in the content library. An important thing to understand about the content library is you cannot type on these. These are just for you to look at. So if you are looking at whatever she's put in there, It might be videos. The cool thing is that you can put videos, you can put PowerPoints, you can put pretty much any content that you want. The teachers can put anything they want in there for the students to access. They can put Microsoft Forms. But again, if it is in the content library, you cannot type on it. Some of the students kind of get confused because if there's like a Microsoft Word document that she's embedded in there, that's not where you're going to be typing on it. The teacher has to actually assign it to the students. So she can take things from the content library and she can assign them to the students. And when it is assigned to the students, that's when it comes down here underneath the student's name. So if I go into, I'm just going to go into handouts real quick. And these are my handouts that Ms. Matheson has assigned me. So if I'm looking at whale songs and AI, she's assigned a video to watch here. And well, that one doesn't look like she's got anything to really type because that's just a handout. But these are going to be where the student is doing most of their interaction, is the stuff that is assigned to them. If the teacher's wanting them to access a particular document in the content library, they're going to indicate that's where it is. I'll look at the do nows. And also, so the do now for September 28th, that's today, right? Yeah, September 28th, that's today. So here, this particular one would have stuff for her to type on. You can just tap, and I can type anything I want. And then the teacher can see anything that I type in there. So if Ms. Matheson goes into my notebook, she can see that I've typed a bunch of gibberish in there. So, so those are the ones. Just a good thing to remember is content library is read only. If it is assigned to the student underneath their name, that's when you can actually type on it. And yes, the teachers, we are trying to make sure the teachers are indicating when the assignments are in OneNote because it does have a lot of folders. I think we're trying to make sure everybody's on the same page, as it were, because some teachers use OneNote, not all teachers do. But I think that a majority of our teachers are using OneNote because I know myself as an educator, I do like that it's simultaneous. So if I'm in class and the students are typing up their do nows, then the teacher can see everything that the students are doing. They can see all the work that's submitted. And there's nothing in particular for the student to submit. They don't actually have to turn that in specifically. It's all synced. So whenever they type in their answer, it's already there. It's already there and the teacher can see it whenever they type it in. So that's one good thing. It's one less step that the students have to do as far as actually turning things in. So that's another thing that I really like about it. I have had, and this is actually at the request of a couple of the teachers, sometimes depending on the way things are uploaded into OneNote, it might say that the content cannot be accessed. And the reason for this is because some of the things, whether it's through SharePoint or OneDrive, which is where most of the files are being saved in the cloud for teachers and students. Sometimes it's not calibrated well to the app. And so sometimes the browser will be an easier way to access that. And I know several of the teachers that I've spoken to, they have seen this happening a lot with their PowerPoints, the embedded PowerPoints. They will ask the students to sign into a shared drive, which is not necessary. They just have to go through the browser. And which is a really good thing, which is we're gonna kind of move on. We're gonna still come back to Notebook through the browser, but we're just gonna shift a little bit. So if I come out of here, because your students do have access to the full Outlook 365 features, which includes everything Microsoft Word, Outlook, which is their email, Teams, Forms, all of that can be accessed through the browser as well. So I'm going to pull this up. So if you just go to office.com, your student can sign in with their same credentials that they sign into Microsoft Teams for. And then I'm going to show a few things in there that are also important. And I do not have this signed in. I'm not going to stay signed in just because I'm on a student app. But if they do hit that they want to stay signed in, then it pretty much stays there forever. So they should only really have to realistically do this one time. So on the Office 365 app, this has access through the browser to pretty much all of the apps, the Microsoft apps that are also on the iPad. Because on the iPad, there are individualized apps for each one. They're supposed to sync up. They're supposed to communicate with each other. But as I'm sure most of you have experienced, they don't always do that. So the browser is another option. They do, when they're joining Teams, for their actual live classes, their video classes, they do need to be on the Teams app. But several of the teachers I've spoken with have said that OneNote through the browser typically functions a little more seamlessly than it does through the app. So on here, if we go to the top, you'll see all the tabs are right here as well on this left-hand side. But they also, this works on the desktop as well. The little square of dots up at the top there. This brings you into all of the apps. So, we will. I just want to point out that, again, I'm not going to pull up the Outlook because that is attached to my personal email, or not my personal, my school email. But Outlook is your students' email. And so teachers can, if they're having trouble with classes or they're having trouble with, and they need to reach out to a teacher, they can do that through Outlook. I know I'm kind of moving kind of quickly through everything. I know I've got a lot to cover and I want to respect everyone's time. But I did want to just take a moment to check for any questions in the chat. I see Ms. Ware said it's helpful when teachers type instructions to complete in OneNote specifically since there are so many folders. Yeah, we yeah, I kind of talked about that we're trying to get everybody on the same page. But yes, I'll make sure that also goes out to teachers that we continue to address where they need to complete the assignment. If it's something that needs to be done in OneNote, to make sure to indicate that explicitly so students know, because some use it, some don't. Let's see if there's any other questions before I move on. Okay, so I'm going to go into OneNote. You can actually access Teams through the browser as well. You can do that, like if you're on a desktop and you don't download the Teams app, you can access, you see it's one of the options of the apps through Microsoft here. I'm going to go into OneNote one more time, and so we can see what it looks like from the browser. Now that I will say, now that I'm more familiar with Class Notebook, I love it, and I love the functionality of it, but I do understand that it's really overwhelming when you've never used it before. It's very overwhelming because whenever I first started, that's where we got. Okay, so looking at it here, like this has all of my stuff from St. Louis Public Schools, but I can go to Class Notebooks, and then I can see the actual class ones, again, that I'm assigned to. So like for this one, Changemakers Period 3 was the one that we were looking at in particular. We can open up that notebook through the browser as well. I know specifically that teachers have told me that the PowerPoints, they don't always, it just sometimes doesn't show them in the app for whatever reason, and hopefully they'll have a patch for that, or they'll address that and fix that soon. Microsoft will. But this is also a way to get to your students' work, is you can do this through the browser. So you have multiple avenues to look at that. So that is, okay, so we've gone through some of the basics of Teams and navigation, finding If a student's class is not on their calendar, another way to get in, make sure they're joining class and adding it to their calendar. We've talked about some of the class assignments and how they can upload their work if necessary, and also some of the basics of navigating class notebooks. I know that they recently, which most of you are probably aware, they recently took away the chat function in Teams. So the best way to be in contact with your teachers is going to be emailing them through Outlook, which again, they do have access to. There's an app on the iPad itself that they can log into. It's on there already. I know mine is right here. I'm not going to pull it up again just because I am already signed in, but your student can sign in there, and then that way they'll get notifications for their emails. Looks like I've got 10 already unread. They'll see those notifications there. You can email all of your teachers that way to contact them. I do want to also move into, I know we've had a lot of questions about SIS, a lot of questions about how to access SIS, how to see grades and all of that. So I'm going to move into that in just a moment. I do want to kind of open it up for just a moment. If anybody has any questions that they would like to address, you can either say them in the chat or you can just unmute yourself and ask. That way, before I move into SIS, we'll still be able to, if we have any other questions or anything, if you need me to re-explain or elaborate on, now would be the time to ask. So again, you can either say in the chat or unmute yourself and then we'll address it. This video, someone asked, will I have video or handouts about everything that I'm going over? So this session is actually recording. This session is recording right now. Everything that I'm going over is recording right now. So I can upload this to and have this posted on our webpage and sent out so that way you can kind of go back over it. And we have been, some of the teachers have been working on videos of some of the how-tos, kind of keep them a little bit shorter for specific topics. I know I've also been working on some topic-specific videos, so that way you can access those as well. We will be uploading those to the YouTube page, as well as this specific video will go to the YouTube page as well. And that there's a link to the Compton-Drew YouTube page on our website. So we can kind of go back over all this and you can reference back to some of these videos. Are there any other questions or concerns or anything specific that you really wanted answered and I have not talked about? Okay. And we'll have another chance for questions here shortly. I just wanted to make sure we talked or gave an option for questions before we move on to SIS. So I know there was a little bit of disconnect because it seems some of these student iPads do have access to the Tyler 360 app, but not all do. I have addressed this with the tech department to see if we can push that app out to all the iPads. So if your student if they go into the app manager and they do not have access to that, if their teacher asks them to download it and it's not there, we understand, oh, my iPad went to sleep, sorry. I better wake it back up real quick, I apologize. So we are aware that not all of the iPads have access to that. So again, I'm waiting to hear back from the tech department downtown to push it out, but you can still access this through the browser. That is an option that you are able to get into that. So if I go back into the browser, I already have it pulled up on a tab up here, but the actual URL is sis.slps.org. And then you have the credentials, the parent portal. If parents have signed up for the parent portal, there's a document that you sign up with, and then you are given your username and or given your login information for SIS. The students also will have sign information. It is different than the one that they use for teams. It's different because it's a different system. Your students' teachers should have or have been trying to walk their students through how to log in to SIS, so that way they can see their grades, and that way you as parents can also see their grades. You can see grades and assignments through Teams. If you go through the assignments tab, you can see if things have been graded in there, but SIS is going to be the more definitive way. This is where the official grades go, is through SIS. So if your student does not have their login screen already, I'm sorry, not their login screen. If your student does not have their login credentials already, they may email their teachers directly, their advisory teacher, for that login information, because that is going to be different than the one that they use to log in to Teams. So again, you can access SIS through the browser and log in. The student will have their login that they can. And make sure that we're selecting, when the student's logging in, make sure you're selecting as a student. As a parent, I made that mistake a lot, because when you go to the web page automatically, it has the staff one highlighted. That's just the one that automatically highlights. And so I kept trying to log in, and I'm like, I know my information's correct. And then it took me a couple of times of realizing, oh, that's because I'm not a staff member. I need to log in as a parent. So just don't make the same mistake that I kept making for way too long, which was trying to log in under the wrong tab. You just have to go, there's a staff tab, there's a parent tab, and there's a student tab. So just make sure that we're logging in under the correct one. But hopefully we will be able to get the app pushed through so it's on their iPads. But you as parents, if you're logging in, like I log in on my cell phone all the time to check up with my kids' grades. So you can do that on a cell phone or on a laptop as well. Any questions about logging into SIS or anything like that? Again, I do not have on me, I'm not giving out like their usernames right now or anything, but they can email their advisory teacher about that. Is there any questions about SIS other than what the login is? They'll have to email their advisory teacher for that. Okay. One other thing that I actually forgot to show whenever I should have gone over when we first got started. I know some teachers are having students take screenshots of their work, like if Notebook is just being kind of funky or Teams is having problems. Some teachers are having them take screenshots of their work and submitting the pictures of it. That kind of is a quick workaround. I'm just bringing up a Word document really quick. So if I were to just type anything, I'll type hi. So if your student, I think most of the students know, but just in case they don't, and just so you guys know, to take a screenshot on the iPad, so I've got the iPad in my hands right now, there's a button on the top right corner. It is on the actual hard case of the iPad. So you do that button at the top right corner, and then the home button, which is the circle on the front of the screen. You press those at the same time, press them quickly at the same time, and it takes a screenshot. And it even makes a little camera shutter noise to let you know that you've taken the screenshot successfully. And this then moves it into the photos. Oh, that's a video. We don't want that one. So that's the screenshot of what I just took. So I know sometimes some of the teachers, if the students are just, if for whatever reason they're having trouble getting it, they can take a screenshot that way. I know also sometimes some of the teachers are having students, if they're working out of a workbook and we can't get the online portion going, they can, some teachers I've been hearing, they have the students write out their work, and then they can take a picture of it on the they can take a picture of it on the iPad because it does have the camera function, and then they can have it that way and submit the picture as well. Seems like that's one way. I see we have a question, or at least a comment anyways, Ms. Lee, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself. Ms. Lee, you're muted. I'm sorry, I thought you were raising your hand. So if you weren't raising your hand, I apologize, Ms. Lee. It just looked like you were raising your hand to say something. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so now I know we also have had some parents asking some questions because I know a couple of the students, a couple of the teachers are using individualized apps or websites like Legends of Learning or IXL or Moby Math. Those are a couple of the ones that I've heard kind of going around. And I will say that as far as the login information goes for those, your student needs to get those from their teacher directly. They can email the teacher and ask for those because I do not have access, because for those very specific apps to the class, the teacher is the one setting up those, setting up the accounts for like Moby Math. So their specific login information, that's going to come from like Moby Math, that's going to come from their math teacher because I don't have access to that login information. That's going to be from the teacher. So I say, if you're ever having concerns about an assignment or anything, your first line is going to be the teacher directly. You can email them. Our teachers are pretty responsive to emails if they're not actively in class. And most of them, like I'm signed in on multiple devices right now to kind of monitor the chat as well as broadcasting the iPad. I know most of the teachers have the same setup. They're on a computer, they're on a laptop, they're on an iPad. They have multiple things going, so that way they can make sure that they're addressing students' needs as we go. So it's almost 11 o'clock now. We've been in here for almost an hour. So I want to open it up. If you have any questions or concerns, or even if you have any helpful hints that maybe I didn't address, that I had a list that I was kind of going down and make sure I tried to get to everything, but I am human and sometimes I forget. So does anybody have any questions or anything? Is there anything specific that you would like me to go over now or readdress again as a whole? And so if you do have a question, feel free to speak up or say in the chat. But I will say we are going to have a couple of sessions available, because I know I did have some parents reach out and say that they're at work right now. They can't get to the meeting, and that's totally fine. We understand that, and we are definitely going to have a couple of sessions. I know we're going to try and do at least one in the evening and probably one on a weekend too. So that way, okay, I do see a question. Why can't all the assignments just be under assignments? Okay, so that's a good question. And I will say that most of the assignments are, and if a teacher has assigned something in class notebook, like I'm gonna go back to Ms. Matheson's real quick to give you an example. So if you go to, actually I shouldn't even be in the team, I should have gone to the assignment tab. They have a link to a particular assignment in the assignment tab. I'll give you an example of that. Okay, so look, this is Ms. Matheson's again. I'm just using her as an example. So if I go into this assignment, you'll see it has the activity title, it's got the instructions, and where it says my work, that actually is a link directly into Class Notebook. So when I tap on this, it's going to pull it up in Class Notebook. So most of them should be linked already. and it pulls it up, what we were looking at. You've got the sections in the middle with the page. So it automatically pulled up that particular assignment in here. So I would say that most of them are in the assignments already there's just a link to the class notebook. You'll do the work in class notebook. But yeah, the information how to get to it is most of them. I can't speak for every single teacher, but most of them should be in the assignments. Does that answer your question? Hopefully. Okay, so I have another question about the iPad charging. Okay, so I kind of touched a little bit on this in the beginning, and I'll just kind of go over it because it is like, that's probably one of the most common problems that we're having is the iPad charging situation. So the iPads, these are brand new iPads. They had some in the spring that were, the district had already owned, but Compton-Drew got brand new iPads. Not all the schools did. So, I mean, I was kind of happy about that. So most of them have brand new iPads, brand new batteries. I will say that I have come across a couple of iPads that the battery, I think, I'm not an Apple expert, but I think that the battery was genuinely bad. I tried to charge it. I tried multiple chargers. Even if you plugged it in, nothing. So those ones do need to be brought back to the school. And then I can work with it. And if I can't figure out what the problem is, then I take it back to downtown and they send them back to Apple to be fixed. But the iPads and their chargers, they need to be charged overnight. And I know I said this already, but I'm gonna reiterate it. They need to be charged overnight because the amount of battery power that it takes to run active video feed for their classes for the whole school day, even if they have that plugged into the wall, it is not able to get enough power to the voltage through the adapter just isn't enough. So if you're at 15% and you are plugged into the wall and you log on at 8:15 and you're at 15% and you log into your classes, you're still going to see it going down because there's just with the video feed takes up so much battery power. It just cannot keep up with that. So just make sure we're charging them at night. Now, if you're noticing you're at 100% at the start of the day and by 10 o'clock in the morning, it's already dead. Okay, we might have a problem there and we probably need to swap it out, and I can send that downtown to have them assess it and maybe look at the battery. That might be a bad battery. But a lot of the problems I'm having, parents bring back iPads and they say it's not charging and then it charges up. I'm noticing that a lot of it is it's just if you're plugged in to the wall and you're in video and you're in class with the video on, the teacher's got their video on and you're shifting between classes, yeah, that the battery's still going to go down. It's not going to be able to charge that back up while you've got the video feed running because it's just too much for the battery to handle. Okay, so another question. Son's assignments are empty. I have an email saying he's missing assignments. So that might be, you may not have, we'll just go one more time. And this may not be the direct problem with your son's situation. Now I can say for this particular problem, you can contact me directly at the school and I can go into your students' assignments and kind of look at it. We can kind of look and see if they're missing assignments. But at the very bottom in the assignment screen, you'll see where it says completed underneath here. So if a student has turned it in, even if they didn't attach anything and they just accidentally hit the turn in button, it shifts it to this section down here. The assignments don't disappear. They stay in that completed section. So like if I go into this activity, I did this at the beginning. I didn't do anything. I didn't attach anything. I did not complete anything in Notebook. I did not do anything to this assignment. I just hit at the top right corner, I hit the turn in button. And so then it shifts it down into the completed section. I did have another student that was having a similar problem. She didn't even realize she hit the turn in button without even thinking about it. I think she was trying to exit out. And so then it moved it into the completed section. And then her assignments poofed and she wasn't finishing them up because they weren't in the assigned section anymore. They were down at the bottom in the completed section. So if your students have, if it doesn't show they have any assigned, definitely check down at the bottom at that completed section to see if they're there. If there still is, if there's just nothing there, then definitely reach out to the teacher or reach out to me and I can kind of help. We can kind of go into that a little more deeply and see what's going on there, because there is a possibility that it wasn't specifically assigned. Okay, any other questions or concerns? I'm willing to answer basically everything. That's what this is for. I'm trying to help you guys know how to navigate most of it, or at least have a little bit of familiarity, because I know when we started Microsoft Teams in the spring, that was brand new to me too. So I had to learn everything. I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I learned from other leaders in the school, other teachers who were using it. So this is how I keep saying we're in this together. We're in this together to make sure our students are being taken care of. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns at all? What happens when you cannot complete the assignment? That's another good question. So if a student cannot complete the assignment, whether it is maybe they didn't see it in time, maybe they accidentally hit turn in and they weren't actually done, there was some confusion as far as navigating. We've seen pretty much everything across the board. So what I would say is if a student cannot complete the assignment due to, like it was due yesterday and they just didn't get it done, reach out to your teacher, because most of our teachers will accept late work. Because especially in these first weeks, we understand that there has been a significant learning curve in that a lot of the students were having trouble navigating Teams. They were having trouble just getting into it and getting it done. So they will accept late work. Okay, so some clarification. What happens if you're on the assignment and cannot type anything? That is if you are in class notebook. I'll go over that again. That's because we are probably in the wrong section of class notebook. There are two sections of class notebook. So I'm going to go back into Ms. Matheson's. So again, we will look at on the top, we'll go back. So a lot of times when the teachers assign them something, it'll be coming from the content library. That's going to be, a lot of times that's where it starts them out. Anything in the content library, so we've got class notes, do nows, everything, none of this can be typed on. Everything in the content library is read only. So if you go into class notes and you see like this goal 1 properties of waves, this is just here. This is like if the teacher just had it on the smartboard for you to look at, to reference to. It's there, but it cannot be typed on. It cannot be modified in any way. Anything that is going to be able to be modified is actually assigned to the student. So like right here for Ms. Matheson's class, I have my name, and I told her to have all of my notebooks look just like the students do. So she's got her science dictionary, handouts, class notes, weekly do know, labs, agendas, student goals. Anything underneath your name, that's going to be where the typing and the assignments are being worked on. So if I go into, we'll just do the whale songs. She has a video here and something to explore, but technically I can type here. I can type whatever I want, and then it's saved on this document. So that will be where they do anything. If they cannot type on it, make sure the student is not actually trying to access the worksheet through the content library. They have to do it through their assigned things, which their assigned tabs, which are the ones that are underneath their name. Next question, if the iPad dies, will the student be able to access the page from the computer and see the same thing as the iPad? I will say that it is not identical, but it's very close. I walked another parent through some stuff, and I didn't realize until a few minutes in that she wasn't even on the iPad, she was on a computer. So the tabs are kind of moved, whereas on the iPad, most of the tabs are on the bottom. They're for Teams and stuff. If you're on a computer, if you're on the browser, they are on the left-hand side of it. So the tabs are still there, they're just probably on the side. So yes, if you log in through the browser, I actually had the browser pulled up for the class notebook. If you are on the browser, like I'm in the browser right now, just like if I were on a computer, it looks pretty close. It's very similar. Again, the iPad is optimized for the app usage, so it is going to be a little different. They were trying to streamline things, but it is very close. And of course, if the iPad does die and you get on a computer and your student is lost, you can always call the school, and we are happy to assist with that. But yeah, everything is still there. Everything they can access on the iPad, they can access from a computer through the browser as well. Any other questions or concerns? And again, Ms. Lee also posted in the chat, if you have any questions, for later, do not hesitate to call. I would like to stress that again. If 2 hours from now, if you're kind of thinking about it and you think of something that you should have asked, but I do that all the time. Like, it's like way after the fact. There'll be something at 4:30 this afternoon. I'll go, oh, I should have told them that. I do that all the time. If you have any questions, you can call the school. Ms. Lee or I are available at the school to help. You can also, there is an email. It's on our webpage. It is Compton-Drew parent help at slops.org. That's an email that you can email for assistance as well. Question, we have missing assignments. The system wouldn't let us complete. We turned in assignments. It says missing. Can we fix that and how? Okay, so Ms. Crosby, that would probably be one that I need to look at your students specifically to kind of go in. If you completed them in OneNote, but then, because like I said, OneNote is synced, so whatever you type in OneNote, the teacher can see that. There isn't anything to really like hit submit in OneNote because it's all synchronized. But I will say that that button that I showed you guys for where it says, at the very top, oh wait, it's not broadcast. It's not broadcasting again. Oops, hold on. If I let the iPad go to sleep, it stops broadcasting, so I just have to pull it back up again. I apologize. So looking at the assignments page in the top right corner where it says turn in late. So I could have gone like I did. I just went in there on that particular assignment in class notebook and I typed on it. I just typed some gibberish on there. I could have completed it, but if I didn't hit the turn in button up at the top, it's not gonna show until the teacher updates it. The teacher can see that you've done it and done the assignment. And until you hit that turn in button, it's not going to acknowledge that it's not gonna specifically acknowledge that. So that would probably be, we might just need to go into your students' assignments and look, and I can definitely assist you with that. After we get done here, if you want to call the school directly, then I can assist you with that, because I don't want to go into your student's account for everyone to see. So I can do that with just one-on-one after this meeting or whenever's convenient for you, if that's acceptable to you, Ms. Crosby. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Anything at all? Okay, so it is, it's 10 minutes after 11. So my next steps, if no one has any other questions or concerns or anything that still is confusing, or I know sometimes I talk really fast and I try to slow myself down, but I think it's a public speaking thing, even though I'm even though I don't have you in front of me to talk to, I can't gauge your facial reactions. If you're looking at me like Ms. Kavanaugh, you're just going way too fast. I don't have that to kind of gauge in front of me. So if you think of anything later, please do not hesitate to call or email, and I will help you, or Ms. Lee will help you. I'm going to have this recording after we are finished here. I'm going to have it converted to a file and uploaded to the YouTube page so you can reference back to it. We are always available for more one-on-one help to make sure that you guys are getting the assistance that you need, because that's the most important thing to us, is we don't want anybody at home frustrated and confused, because we understand that this is really difficult to kind of wrap your head around, especially if you're working or if you're doing anything else. This can be really overwhelming. So we just know that we are here for you, and we are here to support you. We are here to support your students. We want to support the family as a whole. So if there aren't any other questions or anything, I'm going to go ahead and I'll be ending this meeting in just a few moments. I will have more sessions down the road, and hopefully, if in the questions that you guys asked, I'm going to probably kind of embed those into my next sessions and kind of learn as we grow. But otherwise, I just want to remind everybody that we're in this together, and we are here to support each other, and we're here to support you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer it back over to.
Thank you, Mrs. Kavanaugh. That was very helpful.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that I got at least something across, because I'm definitely, this is new to everybody, and we're all learning. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time. And do not hesitate to reach out. Ms. Crosby, please give me a call at the school. I'll be headed to the office after I leave here. So thank you, guys, and everyone have a wonderful day.